Thanks, but I meant, like with me all my life, my pops was like, this farm is going to be yours someday. And I was all like, no, thank you. Getting up early is not for me. See, I was hardened to electronic music scene. I saved up and bought all my own gear. I had this sweet synthesizer, but all that equipment is super expensive. You need a computer and what kind of business was Riley running? We didn't need to hear his whole story any more than he needed to hear ours. Why? Wasn't he talking about his products? Didn't he know the ABCs of selling? Always be closing the deal. That's the very first selling tip in starting your own business for dummies. So I needed cash, and that's how I ended up working at this fancy restaurant in Boston. And they had a cheese guy. One guy, this whole job was just cheese. He'd buy all these cheeses, put them onto his cart, and when people finished their meal, he'd like wheel it out so they could pick their cheeses. And I was like, what? Because all I know was cheddar and Swiss and American. Maybe I had some provolone, but that was it. You know, there's thousands of different cheeses. Here was my chance to focus, Riley. Actually, crazy, right? And each cheese has like its own story, where it's from, how it's made. Anyway, this guy, his name was actually Guy. Funny, right? So one day, Guy gave me this crazy, super melty, super stinky cheese, and it was like magic. I mean, one bite and I was hooked. I couldn't believe a food tasted like that. It was so different and so awesome. After that, Guy started teaching me all about cheese. Who knew that there would be so much to learn about cheese? Anyways, Riley pulled up in front of the house but didn't stop talking. As we climbed out of the truck, Josh whispered, "It must be really hard to live out here all alone with nobody to talk to." Something about Riley made me think he'd be like this even if he didn't spend all this time alone. So one time, Guy takes me with him to his farm in Vermont to a cheese tasting, and I was like, this is it. This is what I'm going to do. Like for life. I'm going to make cheese on my family's farm, and I told my dad, and he was so psyched that I wanted to come back and like do my thing here. He had it with those big dairy folks anyway. So he was like, Riley, you do it your way. Your mom and I are hitting the beach. So I went back to school, changed my major from electronic music to agriculture. And now I'm here, living my dream. My girlfriend graduates in June, then she's moving up here. Maybe some friends too. It's crazy a lot of work. We'd follow Riley onto the porch of the little house, and he pushed open the front door. Hey, boys, he called into a small room lined with shelves and hooks. The second he stepped into, two huge gray blurs, the boys, I guess, were coming at us. Can anyone guess who the boys are? Before I knew it, one of them had me pinned against the wall, his paws on my shoulders. Meet Ziggy, said Riley. This one's Gonzo, he said of the other dog whose paws were on his own shoulders. Riley seemed to think this was a fine way to say hello. This was so not professional. I didn't need starting your own business for dummies to know that. Hello, Ziggy, I said, looking up, stretched out like that. Ziggy was taller than I was. Drooled. There was drool that came down from both of Ziggy's furry chin. I tried to turn my head to the wall to get out of the range of the drool, but Ziggy dipped and blocked, and all I could see was tongue. Ugh, I gagged. Ziggy had licked my face so hard he got in saliva up my nose. His saliva. It hurt and it stunk. Ziggy's breath was toxic. And now it was inside my nose, so I couldn't even get away from it. Wow, he really likes you, Riley said. Gonzo dropped off Riley and mashed his head into Josh's side. Hey, Gonzo, Josh scratched the dog's back. Ziggy's kind of heavy. On top of the smell, I felt like my shoulders were about to separate from the rest of my body. Yep, 200 pounds of love, isn't that right, Ziggy? Riley stroked Ziggy's head, and finally Ziggy jumped down. As Josh pet Gonzo, the dog flopped over, knocking Josh backward, and he had to grab onto a hanging raincoat to keep from falling. They love attention. Isn't that right, Gonzo? Riley squatted and scratched the dog's belly. What's this? Oh no! Riley rubbed something greasy off Gonzo's nose. What did you do? Riley suddenly sounded a whole lot like my mother. He stood up, marched down the hall, and disappeared into the room at the other end. Gonzo pooped up onto all. I'm sorry. Gonzo popped up onto all fours. Gonzo! Ziggy! Ziggy whimpered. Then he and Gonzo slunk slowly down the hall. Can you think what they did? Can you predict what they did? I don't know. Let's find out. Riley appeared in the doorway. Didn't I leave this door closed? Didn't I? Now he really sounded like my mother. The dogs stopped at the doorway and dropped to their bellies. Am I going to have to get a lock on the kitchen door? Riley waited. Not surprisingly, the dogs weren't answering. Josh looked at me. We can come back, I said. Don't look at me like you don't know what you did. He's still talking to the dogs, right? Josh whispered. One of the dogs, Ziggy, I think, barked. One of the dogs, Ziggy, I think, barked. Yes, you do, and I'm very disappointed in you, Riley said, shaking his head. The other one barked. You just stay there and think what you did. Riley turned around. Look at this mess. Now he's talking to us. Come on, I said. In the kitchen, broken glass covered the floor and 2 chairs snapped in half, lay in a pool of milk. I don't know how that dog whispered Guy never loses his patience. I'm really sorry, Riley said. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it, Josh said, because he's Josh. I didn't say anything. I had this whole tasting set up with crackers for the butter, and I made this awesome drink with the milk and some maple syrup. We can come back some other time, Josh said. Or maybe we can just do it at my place, I said, giving Josh a look. Riley snapped his fingers. Hey, I got it. Care package. Hold on. 2 seconds. It took way more than 2 seconds, but eventually Riley had put together the care package, and Josh was bungee cording into his bike rack. So you got the butter, a pint of milk, and 1 of cream, and I put in some Farmer's Wish for your mom, and also something I'm experimenting with. Triple cream made of raw milk, super gooey, crazy stinky. It's wrapped in river birch bark, so you just scoop it out. Okay, thanks. We'll taste everything today and get back to you, I said. Yeah, stop by anytime. I'm always here. We'll email. I called as we biked off. I didn't plan on visiting Stinky Cheese Farm again anytime soon.